Here's my promise to you. This will change your life because very few people, even people on self-improvement, actually work on their charisma. Everything in this course has changed my life. To what extent, I will tell you later on. A lot of the advice you'll hear, you have never actually heard before. It's not your typical advice. There's a high chance you won't have heard stuff like this before, and it will probably give you a lot of epiphanies and will change your life like it did to me. So here's what we'll cover. The mistake most people make when trying to become charismatic, and how to actually become charismatic, rooted in stoicism and yogi culture. One-stop guide to body language. You won't need another guide or a video after this, I promise. Mental frameworks and exercises that make rejection 10 times easier to handle. How to make friends that are like you and you are proud of. Brother from another mother, blood brother, best friend. All of this will take you from a social abnormality, social deformity, social inept weirdo into a new baseline of being loved by people you've just met, listened to and respected completely free of charge, most of the time. Oh, and if it makes it more exciting for you, because I know there's motherfuckers out there that just care about bitches, you'll speak to women easier. It'll get easier to speak to women, and you'll get a lot more signs from bitches. So if you're not aware, and why I put handkerchief drop here, is if you've ever heard of the old adage where the classy woman drops a handkerchief and then the gentleman has to pick up her handkerchief, and then that's the way they start a conversation. So I don't think a woman will ever truly go ahead up to you and say, oh, I love you, please go out with me. It's very, very rare that a woman would do that. Most of the time it will just give you signs. So obsessive eye contact, being really, really near you, trying to answer your questions when maybe you're in the classroom. That's a few signs. And that's the modern day handkerchief drop, I guess. And the reason why I don't say, get bitches, 10 bitches a day hopping on your dick, is because, humbly, I don't got 10 bitches hopping on my dick. That would be kind of wrong for me to tell you that you can get 10 bitches hopping on your dick.
Oh no! Oh no!
But for sure, what I can tell you is you'll speak to women easier, you'll get a lot more signs from bitches. Okay, but here's the only thing I need from you. In order for this to actually change your life, and every YouTuber says this, but please watch it with your full attention and do the small practical steps I tell later. Because what is wisdom without action, right? And this video will be a little bit long, so if you have to go, that's totally understandable, but try not to skip around, because I'd much rather you watch a little bit of it from the start and then to the next point, instead of skipping around. Because if you ever made a full guide or course before, you'll realize that all the information actually kind of links together and it doesn't really make sense without the other. So without further ado, here's my brief transformation story so that you know that I can help you. So my social life sucked. Just to name a few things, I spent time in the toilets a lot at break at school, scrolling on my phone so that I didn't have to socialize, because I had friends, but often I didn't feel that they were high quality enough to be around. It's a very, very weird mental fuckery that I had back then. Whenever I would hang around with my friends, I'd be like, oh, what if this girl that I really like sees me with these people, but what if they don't think I'm cool anymore? Terrible mental health, overthinking caused by the smallest of things. So maybe a classmate, maybe a friend walks past you in the hallway and you nod at him or you say hello and he doesn't say anything back, or he has a serious face on, or he has a resting bitch face on. Immediately I would spend the rest of the day just analyzing what I did wrong. What did I do wrong? Why does he hate me now? What part of the last interaction I had with him did I make him not like me? Spending a lot of days at school silent, so I could honestly back then spend a whole day at school not saying a single word, and then walking home, watching a couple of YouTube videos, and then go to gym, and then come back, watch a few YouTube videos, eat dinner, sleep. And I got labeled as cute by several dudes. You do not want to know how demoralizing being called cute by several dudes is. Especially I'm not even gonna get into it. It's so emasculating. It's such a backhanded compliment. Literally could not handle uncomfortable situations. That's another thing. So if I was ever in an awkward situation, maybe I'm lining up outside of class, the teacher hasn't opened the door yet, and everyone's just standing in the hallway waiting to go into the lesson, I'd probably just go to the toilet, or I'd probably get out my water bottle, start drinking water, start fidgeting around. Fun fact, it's actually you that's making those situations awkward, but we'll get into that later on. Literally hated going outside to social events or even having a simple dinner with my family. So I would overthink about how to talk to the waitress, overthink about the people that sat next to us on different tables, and yeah, that all contributed to a very, very bad social life, a very, very bitter man. As you can see here, you can just look at this guy, you can tell he's not like very sociable. So what's worse, I didn't even want to admit that I was socially fucked, because I hid my shyness and insecurity with a silent but powerful fake persona. So if you know about the Sigma trend, how all of these characters, they reject women, they reject degeneracy, they're gonna work hard, lock in. That was basically what I was like. So instead of admitting that I'm shy, insecure, or quite frankly a social weirdo, and improving from that, I say I don't want to socialize. It's like the sour grapes analogy, if you've ever heard of this. Basically, a wolf wanted to try some grapes, but he couldn't reach the grapes. The grapes were too tall. And so he kept on trying to get those grapes. And then one day he finally gave up and he said, oh, the grapes are probably sour anyways. Fuck them, I don't want them. And so that's basically what happened to me, but with improving my social life. But then, through taking enough bullshit day to day, I found self-improvement. But alongside self-improvement, I also studied a lot about confidence, human psychology, charisma, influence, body language from books like Charisma Myth, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Autism is the Way of the Superior Man, Influence, Psycho-Cybernetics, YouTube channels like Hamza and Charisma on Command. Maybe you know who Hamza is, maybe you know who Charisma on Command is. But I didn't just study charisma, I didn't just study confidence, human psychology. I implemented it. And I tested it out on the field, which was most of the time in the gym, and also in school and college, and just in new environment. And when I mean tested out on the field, let me explain to you what that means on the next slide, which led me to do charismatic things like cold approaching some random pet store owner that was setting up shop so that I could hopefully run ads for him. So this was back when I was doing SMMA, social media marketing, and I really wanted to get my first client, and I heard all about the cold outreach, how you have to call 1,000 customers a day, email 1,000 people a day, and I was really into it at that time. So I saw this random guy setting up his shop. It was quite a long while ago, so I don't remember what exactly I said, but I struck up a conversation. We became friends. He said, do you want to come for the grand opening ceremony? Then he showed me around, and you know, he showed me the fucking payment processor, and we talked about the natural dog food and how it's better than the conventional dog food. And then I eventually tried to pitch it to him a little bit about the Facebook ads, but then it didn't work because it was like a physical store location. And really, if you want the ads to work, you kind of have to have a online business. Asking out a crush I had only for like a month at the end of an exam, and I would have argued at the time that she was probably the most beautiful girl in the entire school. When I came out of the exam, and I was in the same exam hall with her, so that made it easier, I actually forgot that I had to ask her out because I was so focused on doing maths. And then my friend came up to me and just started punching me because this was the only friend I talked to about this crush I had, and I got rejected. But I'd argue once again that she was the most beautiful in this entire school. If you wanted to know what she kind of looked like, kind of like Megan Fox, a little bit, kind of like Megan Fox, a little bit. There's a little bit of resemblance, so I guess that gives you an image. Argued with the teacher in front of my whole maths class on how Andrew Tate was right. Cold approaching some random girl at the gym I found attractive, once again failing horribly. Actually, now that I think about it, I should have changed this to failing a little bit, because technically I didn't get rejected because she didn't actually say no. Then I also made several friends that are all bigger than me at my gym, starting with a simple compliment. Here's just some extra pictures to show you that I'm not lying to you. I have friends, and these people, I will admit again with full humility and authenticity, this doesn't happen like every day, this doesn't happen like very often, these gatherings or meetups, they only happen like maybe a few weeks and then a few weeks and then a couple months, and then it's very, very spontaneous. So I wouldn't tell you that, oh, we have a bunch of friends that we meet up every single day. No. But here's me with one of my closest friends hitting a workout, and here's me starting a whole baptism for the church. I literally came in, said, hey, how do I get baptized? And then they said it was a good question, and they literally went around the whole church asking everyone, oh, you baptized? Are you confirmed? And then eventually we had a date to get baptized, and I was the baptism boy for that day, and you know, everyone congratulated me. Real nice. This leads me to understanding charisma. Here is our first point from all of the things I told you I was going to talk about earlier on. This is the mistake most people make when trying to become charismatic. Here is the module. Understanding charisma. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree. I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe, by Abraham Lincoln. What do I mean by that quote? Well, most people charge into improving their charisma, not even knowing the basic rules of charisma, not even knowing how social interaction actually works. So they have a blunt axe. And then, for example, they might go into a social situation with some quick tip advice like compliment others, but then deep down inside, they don't actually mean it, or are full of anxiety, and it actually comes off as insincere and fake. Then the interaction doesn't go the way they want, and then they get black-pilled, lose hope, get angry at themselves, try again, and then the cycle repeats. And this is effectively what you're doing when you're trying to improve charisma, but you don't know how the rules of the game work. So, without further ado, here's how to sharpen your axe so that you become charismatic 10 times faster. Rules of charisma. Save yourself years of trial and error and cringe mistakes. First rule of charisma is, we all have a social bar we have to raise every single day. What do I mean by this? Well, depending on how much sleep you got, how much you are winning in life right now, how many friends you have, how much do you meet up with your friends, how social your lifestyle is, how much human interaction do you have in a day, your bar will be higher or lower. And as it goes up, you gain more confidence. And to make it go up, you have to do something social, or preferably anything that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone that's related to being social. This is why people say you need a social lifestyle. So if you ever heard the advice that, oh, the reason why you're bad at socializing is because you literally sit at home every day. It's because you literally don't go outside your house and touch grass and say hi to people. That's fundamentally what this social bar is. And so maybe you have a girl in your class that you want to talk to, but you find it really, really hard to talk to her. You can't even like say out her name. You find it really hard to say the first word out. And you see the clocks ticking, ticking, ticking. Oh, I'll do it at the last 5 minutes of the end of the lesson. And then you don't. Now you leave the lesson with bitter feeling. And so knowing about this social bar can help you talk to that girl you want to talk to. For example, I had this exact same scenario like so many months ago, that I literally turned to my friend, started joking around with him, started like getting into a really, really good conversation with him. And then eventually when the conversation died down with my friend, I thought about talking to this girl again, and it was like 10 times easier to say her name, and I actually did talk to her, had a brief conversation. So that's why you can't talk to the girl you want to talk to. Is your bar high enough? Have you talked to enough people in that day? Have you joked around with your friends enough? Something to think about. Second rule of charisma, flirt with the world. And this really goes hand in hand with the first rule, social bar. But essentially you can't go around in life not talking to anyone. Then you see a hot girl, then you're like, oh, I'm gonna go be super charismatic with her. Then I'm gonna talk to her because she's the only one that's worthy of talking to me. You'll most likely fuck up because of what I said before with the social bar. You're not ready. Your bar isn't high enough. So, as a actionable step here, be playful with everyone. Talk a little bit more with everyone, including cashier, waiter, classmate, grandma. Try and be playful and jokeful with everyone, and try to speak a little bit more with them, as in like maybe you're gonna say, oh hi, how are you, good, yeah, but then why not add another sentence like, oh, the weather's nice today. Add an extra sentence to your conversation. Third rule of charisma. Charisma comes from within. There's debate about this philosophy online, but it's certainly true with myself, and it's, you were meant to be charismatic all along. Every person, I believe, is meant to be charismatic. That's the natural state, I believe. But I believe a lot of us have been socially conditioned during young adolescent years to think and act in certain ways to avoid getting shamed or judged or hurt ever again. So in other words, traumatized. Could be rejection, could be called disgusting when you were very, very young, could be getting shamed or getting laughed at by the whole class. And that is the thing that now stops us from being charismatic, which we are meant to be. Because also think back to very, very early childhood. You didn't give a fuck, did you? Like, think back to when you were really, really young. You probably didn't have any fear of rejection. You didn't have any, like, fucks to give, basically. For example, when I was very, very young, and I remember this story that one of my mum's friends keeps on telling me to this day. And it's when one of my mum's friends took me out for lunch or whatever, and I literally just turned around to the other table and I said, "Oh, that girl's ugly." And so it's my belief that we're all meant to be charismatic, and we're all meant to not give a fuck. We're all meant to not really care about rejection that much. We're all not all supposed to be very, very fearful of judgment or shame. Sure, there's a little bit. Sure, you can say that, you know, there's the primal analogy of fear of rejection, because if you say something weird and then people reject you, and that's like a primal instinct of getting kicked out the tribe. But I feel like we shouldn't be scared of rejection that much. Like, a little bit's fine and a little bit's normal, but we shouldn't be scared of rejection that much. Do you get what I mean? Like, I feel like these traumas have just accentuated and multiplied how bad it actually feels. But the reason why I say a lot of us and not all of us is, think about the popular kid as well, right? He don't give a fuck. He just doesn't give a fuck. He can talk to your crush easy, and even if you see the popular get like shamed or anything, or getting judged by his friends or getting rejected, he just kind of laughs it off, doesn't he? The popular kid, because maybe he's got like a perfect childhood upbringing. He's been winning ever since he was a child. He's never been shamed or judged or traumatized. He's got perfect father and mother parents, and he's been raised to be like perfect. Oh, you're the best at everything. And now he's the popular kid. He don't give a fuck. Fourth rule of charisma. Charisma is shown mainly through our body language. I think there's a graph somewhere online where it's like 50% of charisma is body language, and then everything else is like, I don't know, your tone, your words, how you speak. But I find there's a huge misconception in the body language space, and that's trying to fix body language with tips and tricks, like sitting or standing like this to look powerful. So for example, oh, you can't have your hands in your pockets, that shows that you're submissive. Put your hands out of your pockets and stand like this, or sit like this, to show you that you're powerful. It's like a temporary band-aid solution. All of those tips, every single YouTube video that says like body language guide, 5 body language tips to make you really, really powerful, it's all band-aid solutions. It's all solving the symptom, and it won't work nearly as good as what I will tell you later on. Because deep down inside, let's say you're anxious. Why not fix the anxious first? Become confident and playful and relaxed, and then won't the body language just follow along accordingly to how we feel inside? Think about it. If you're anxious and you have anxious body language, why would you go and try to correct your body language to show that you're powerful when you're deep down inside anxious? Why not fix the anxious and let your whole body language follow along, right? Which leads me to understanding body language. Make people say, "Whoa, who's that?" when you enter a room. The mistake of learning body language. If you watched the previous module, you might get what I mean by this. Hours are spent correcting tiny parts of body language, like the way you walk, the way you sit, watching to video. It's kind of like masturbation, if you get that reference.
Self-improvement is masturbation.
All in order to hopefully seem more powerful and establish frame by people who don't realize we have a thing called micro expressions. What is a micro expression? Simply put, it's when we accidentally slip up and show the emotion we're trying to hide through faking our body language. Meaning, body language is completely and utterly determined by how you feel inside. For example, this is how police catch their suspects, for examining their fake, innocent body language. So if you're a criminal, maybe you killed someone, you're immediately gonna try and act innocent, aren't you? You're gonna act innocent with your body language. Oh, I'm so innocent, don't hurt me, I don't know anything, I don't know what's going on. This is also, just to back up my point further, why actors method act. Do you think that the actor with the best body language, that the character with the best body language, like Thomas Shelby, he has supreme body language, doesn't he? He has powerful body language. He puts his hand on the table, that's a sign of dominance. He stands like this, dominance. He walks like this, shoulders swaying, dominance. Do you think the actor Cillian Murphy or Cillian Murphy, do you think he thinks every action through? Do you think he puts every body movement through his conscious mind? Like, for example, I'm gonna put my hand on this table because it shows dominance. Do you think that goes through his mind? No. He embodies the character of Thomas Shelby. Think about the Joker, right? Think about the guy that played the Joker. He probably had to fuck himself up a little bit, didn't he? He had to drink a little bit more, probably take some medicine, probably do a little bit of drugs, probably fuck up his sleep schedule, and then he was able to play the Joker really, really well. This is why actors method act, because they know by changing inside, you change how you are outside. And if you still don't believe me, this is to show you what you can end up like by following those people that tell you to, I don't know, sit like this to look really powerful. God, I feel like a fucking primary school teacher.
Paul, he's lovely. He's a real people person.
So, James, pleasure to meet you, James. Real pleasure to meet you. Heard a lot about you, James.
Really?
Zing, like it. So, tell me, James, what do you do for your day job? I'm asking because I'm genuinely interested.
Well, I work in a sewage treatment plant. It's pretty low-key, but occasionally there's a blockage, which means that someone's got to physically...
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, God, I'm so bloody fascinated, James. I'd like to glue my brain to your face.
Are you even listening?
That is so true.
I'm not even talking.
Me neither. God, we've got so much in common. We should totally do lunch.
Oh, I see what's going on here.
What?
You think you're good with people.
Sorry.
It all makes sense, the fake matiness, the rapey arm touching, the way you keep...
I think you get the point, right? So I don't know if you were paying attention, but at the beginning of this video, he was winking like 3 times. You could imagine that some videos told him to wink 3 times, at least wink as much as you can to get the other person to like you, to show that you're confident and like a mate, right? So that's what you can end up like, because deep inside, you're not actually that friendly. You're not actually that willing to talk to him. You're not actually that enthusiastic. You're not actually that confident. And so, how do you change your body language the right way? Well, before that, there are still 2 kind of body language tweaks I think you should still consider incorporating. I sound like a hypocrite, but trust me, it'll make sense later on. Because I think back to when I first started incorporating these 2 tweaks I'm about to show you, and I experienced for the first time people actually being enthusiastic to see me. People were smiling more and talking to me more. And they'll seem basic at first, but I'll ask you this. How often are you actually doing them? On to the first. Smile, but you have to do it properly. Maybe you've had this advice before, how you have to smile and then it makes people like you more, and then maybe you read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, and smiling's like a really, really powerful tool. But here's how you do it properly. Ever had a girl that seemed so scary to talk to, but then she smiled and it got easier? This is why people don't talk to you. You don't look friendly enough. And if even dudes don't talk to you, how do you expect a girl to talk to you? Because look, even when a girl that seems scary, maybe she has a resting bitch face and she doesn't smile, you seem scary, right? And you don't want to talk to her, you make up all these excuses. She probably will reject me right away. Oh, she looks proper sophisticated, she's so high and mighty, she's definitely not in my league. But then she smiles or she says something stupid, and then that immediately drops her down to your level, right? She gets off the pedestal. And so that's what you essentially look like when you don't smile. You look scary, you look unapproachable, you look like a Moai Easter Island face, and so you should smile more. But a fake grin won't do. Try to be genuinely excited and grateful to see the other person, or if you want to go to different lengths, think of something wholesome and funny that you did before, or some funny joke your friend made that gets a smile on your face, a genuine smile on your face, and then look at the other person. And it may feel awkward at first, but we all get better at authentically smiling and authentically laughing over time. And when you do actually try to start smiling more, don't be hard on yourself, because if you're anything like I was, I'm assuming you've literally spent years being a Easter Island face. This is what you look like. But that can change. And it can only change if you have patience and don't kill yourself for not being able to smile authentically right off the bat. But just the last thing to show you how important a smile is, watch brands even set their watches to 1010 to simulate a smile. 1010's basically, it looks something like this. 1010. Like, you can type watch into your Google browser right now, and you'll see that most of the watches brands will literally look like this. because it looks like a smile. There's like a psychology paper out there that highlights this if you want to look in deeper. Physical touch, handshakes, bro hug, fist bump, etc. I used to think this was a shallow thing. I don't know about you, but I used to not like doing this at all. And I even used to ignore handshakes. I know, that's fucking horrible. Like literally some guy would come up to me, try and handshake me, and I just ignore it. That's how much of a dick I was. So if you've ever been boxing or martial arts, you'll know to touch gloves so that they don't beat the shit out of you. If you get paired up with the strongest guy in the gym, you'll definitely want to touch gloves before so that he doesn't like annihilate you. Physical touch also happens naturally after something respect worthy. So if you land a really good hoop in basketball, if you did some good sparring with a guy, you'll naturally want to physical handshake each other. You'll naturally want to bro hug each other after you do something respect worthy. So if it's built into our biology, then why not fucking do it? And also, every dating video on YouTube tells you to escalate by touching in order to get sex easier later. You know, escalating to kissing point and then escalating to sex, because they wait until the end of the day where you're at the girl's home. So I guess that's the end of our date, and then you awkwardly try and like hold her hand and kiss her. But then what I hear from these dating coaches to avoid that awkwardness at the end of trying to kiss her is just by slowly incorporating physical touch, like touch her arm or some shit, like get her hand out, oh show that her hand is actually smaller than your hand, read her palm size or some shit like that, and then you slowly get used to touching, and then that gets you sex later on, supposedly. And once again, it will be weird to do it first if you haven't been doing it already. Anyways, back to what I was saying about the real way to actually change your body language. How you have to change how you think and feel inside first, and then your body language will naturally follow along. How those quick tip and stand like this videos are completely useless and is like adding pretty balconies to a broken house. Because deep down inside, if you're still anxious, you can't fake a confident person's body language for long. This brings me to the next module. Mental state tools. How to make your brain your own cheerleader and conquer uncomfortable situations. Before we start, if you skipped here without watching all the way through, this might not make sense to you. You'll think that I'm preaching some woohoo strategy, like a law of attraction or manifestation strategy. Then you might try it half-assed, and then you'll waste your time, and then you'll come back and hate me for it. So if you did skip, nothing against you. I would have literally done the same. But just for your own good, please watch it all the way through. The number one thing you can do to conquer any social scenario and instantly change how you feel inside into being playfully charismatic, if you do it right, the 3-step stoic framework to abolish overthinking, negativity and self-hatred and retake your charisma. Everything changed my life, but this changed my life quite a lot. Charismatic habits to incorporate in your day-to-day life that all aim to keep you in a charismatic state. You know, the thing I talked about before with the social bar, how you have to keep it up to be charismatic throughout the day, how you have to make it go up so that you can talk to that girl in your class. These habits aim to keep your bar high up. But before we do cover them, and for them to make sense, I want to make sure you get this concept. We are naturally charismatic, but what makes most people not charismatic is their way of thinking and how their mind works, how their mind depicts certain situations. For example, a shy, anxious person says hello to a stranger walking by in the park. The stranger doesn't say anything back. Their mind immediately goes, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? There's no point in trying. The people in this world are fucked. Then he becomes bitter and resenting. Opposite of charismatic. But a charismatic person would probably think, oh, they're probably having a bad day. What if they're daydreaming? Or what if they lost their voice? What if they had earphones in? A charismatic person also realizes that he, for the most part, can't control if people like him or not. But what he can control is how he responds to not being liked. Will he be hateful and blaming? Or will he realize that there are 1,000 different variables at play? Maybe the person didn't say hello back because maybe their family member died recently. Because if you knew every variable of the situation and you're always correct about the situation, you should be day trading. You'd make a lot of money. But most of the time, your brain is lying to you. And most of the time, your perception of things are completely wrong. For example, resting bitch faces. What do resting bitch faces immediately make you think? Oh, that they don't want to talk to you, that they're sophisticated, oh, that they're in a bad mood, it's not good to talk to them right now. But you know that all of that is just coming from fear, right? You know that all of those excuses and all of those thoughts that your mind gives you, it's not usually correct, is it? That's why it's called a resting bitch face. And then when you talk to them, they really snap back to being a nice person because now you're talking to them. And so with these 3 mental state tools, we'll be aiming to change how you feel inside, whether it be after rejection, getting hate, or in awkward situations. By changing what we think of the situation, because we can't control what life throws at us, and the only thing we can control is how we ourselves react, we can then become naturally and rightfully charismatic. Then our body language will also fix itself. On to the first tool. So, what is the number 1 thing? First, I want to give you a quote. "The only way is through," by Robert Frost. And here's a picture of a UFC fighter, Rampage Jackson, going through a door. If you ever feel any emotion, depression, awkwardness, stress, anxiety, the best way to get rid and fix this feeling is to find whatever is causing it and do something about it. For example, if you're in a hallway waiting for your teacher to open the door to let you in, you're standing next to a girl and it's awkward, you want to know the best way to throw that awkward air instantly out the door, how to break that awkward situation for it to not be awkward anymore. Say something. Find out whatever is causing that emotion and do something about it. But chances are, even if you did speak out, you might be scared of failing the social interaction, getting seen as creepy, or literally being rejected because it's not something you usually do. For example, maybe you've been quiet in all your school years and you think that it would be weird for you to randomly speak out and try to be outgoing because everyone sees you as this shy person, right? Everyone sees you as this silent person. So imagine what would happen if you would go and talk to that girl. What if you go to talk to that popular girl and start talking to her a lot? What would the other people think? They'll probably accuse you of liking that girl. They'll accuse you of speaking more than you should. That's the thing that held me back. That is what I suffered from. But the only way you can solve this is getting a fresh start. Meaning you need to find a new community of people. This is how I solved it. For example, a new boxing class, or maybe in my case as well, moving to college. So for example, secondary school, all of the people I used to know, all of the people used to think of me as silent and shy. But then as soon as I moved to college, I knew no one there. It was a whole classroom of complete strangers. No one knew what I was supposed to be like. No one knew that I was supposed to be silent. So that allowed me to become what I naturally am, which was a loud and charismatic and unfiltered person. That is much closer to my natural state, natural social state, than being a quiet loser. And so if you find a new community of people, for example joining a boxing class where you know no one there, they're all strangers, with complete strangers, you give yourself the chance to be more charismatic, which can then translate into your normal community, school, where everyone thinks that you're quiet, because you have this new community that thinks that you're charismatic, and you also have this old community that thinks you're quiet, and then you can slowly build yourself up to be a charismatic guy and change the perceptions and what people think of you in this old community to be charismatic. Now, on to the second point. We already briefly touched on how feeling like shit by thinking like shit will fuck up your ability to be charismatic and show confident and relaxed body language in the previous slides and modules. So what is the 3-step mental framework rooted in Stoicism then? And why does it work so well to obliterate overthinking, negativity, and self-hatred? Let's find out. But just a quick last note, just because we're learning how to change the way we think, and that changes how you feel, you shouldn't see this traumatized old self, you shouldn't see your anxious self, you shouldn't see your fear of rejection as a bad thing. It's more of a defense mechanism that your body produced to never get hurt ever again. You shouldn't see it as like an enemy, something you need to prune out of your system, but as something that your body introduced to you so that you'll never get hurt ever again, like you did in that traumatic situation where everyone was laughing at you in the classroom or everyone was shaming you. So you shouldn't see that as bad, but just a part of you that's come out and it's defending you in the wrong way, like a mother would. So for example, she doesn't let you out the house because it's dangerous, or she doesn't let you climb the tree because it's dangerous, but then climbing the tree is how you grow as a man, how you grow as a boy, how you adventure, how you develop bravery. So actually that protection from your mum is harming you as much as it is with good intentions. And so I know this is a crazy fucking link with a mum, overprotective mum, that is actually harming you by protecting you, and also a defense mechanism that came up from trauma. I don't know, if you get it, you get it, right? But it's just a part of being human, because most people have bad mental health, and guess what? Most people aren't charismatic as well. And in fact, having a bad mental state and feeling shit inside can actually accelerate your gym and business progress a lot, because you'll be like, oh, those motherfuckers, they wronged me, I gotta get back at them, I gotta get huge, I gotta build my frame, scared. But also I wanted to say that the advice I'm going to tell you later on, this 3-step mental framework rooted in stoicism, it's going to sound a little bit woohoo, it's going to sound a little bit like law of attraction and cute advice at first. But if you consciously, and I mean this because this is what I did, if you consciously actually go and try it out day to day in maybe your classroom, you will feel a change. Onto the 3-step framework. Now the first step is to destigmatize. Realize that everyone feels these bad emotions or mental negativity from time to time. No one is free from suffering, not even Buddha, not even Jesus, the Son of God. And so it helps to imagine someone you admire going through what you're going through right now, once upon a time, with the same exact emotions and the same exact situation. If you're, for example, giving a big speech to thousands, and then Tony Robbins comes along. If you don't know who Tony Robbins is, he's like this really, really good motivational speaker, and he does a lot of performances and speeches in front of a bunch of thousands, tens of thousands of people. And so imagine if Tony Robbins comes along and says, don't worry, man, my first time I fell over on stage and people laughed at me. That would immediately make you a little bit more okay to go on stage, wouldn't you? Because such a admirable, such a professional in the industry of talking to thousands of people, such an expert at talking to a large audience, his first time he fell over on stage and people laughed at him. Now I don't know if he actually fell over his first time, that's something I made up, but you get the point. You can also see this as a burden shared by many. Imagine loads of people experiencing this same exact feeling that you're feeling. So for example, if you're sitting next to a popular girl, or you're sitting next to your crush and you're feeling awkward and deep down inside you're a wreck, you can imagine this happening to any other guy in the room as well. You can imagine this happening to some kid in India, some kid in China. They're all experiencing the same thing. They all experience your same exact emotion. There's a bunch of people all over the world feeling your same exact feeling. And it helps to just think of all of those people around the world feeling your same exact feeling and being in your same exact situation, but maybe even worse. For example, it's normal to feel tired, right? Everyone feels tired. You don't go on Google, for example, and search, oh, I'm tired. That's weird. No, you just drink coffee, and maybe when it's time to sleep, you sleep, because it's normalized. And a lot of mental health problems and a lot of mental discomfort actually comes from feeling that your situation is unique, feeling that you're the only one that's experiencing this emotion right now and in this situation right now. And so I tell you this to prevent you from feeling bad about feeling bad, because what's worse than feeling bad about a situation is feeling bad that you're feeling bad, thinking that you're not supposed to feel bad, and then you feel bad from feeling bad. So here's the action step for this first step. The next time you feel anxiety, worthlessness, depression, literally think consciously. Think about this. Think about a bunch of other people in the world in your same exact situation or your same exact feelings, or imagine someone you admire going through the same exact thing once upon a time. On to the second point, neutralizing negativity. Your thoughts aren't accurate. In fact, they're quite biased. Our brains actually filter out a lot of things to see the only things that are important to us. So for example, if you want to try this, think of everything that is red. Try to spot everything that is red and then look around your room, and chances are you'll find a lot of red things. Like maybe that's a red book over there, and a red pen, red sign on the book, red golf, red sign there, and all the other colors, although they are there, you kind of just ignore, don't you? Also, usually what's important to our brains is negative things. This is called negative bias, negativity bias. It's basically the concept on how we all just focus on negative things in our life. This is also why the news is negative most of the time. It's always about like some stabbing or some murder case to captivate our attention. And so here's the action step for neutralizing negativity. Think of your thoughts as graffiti on the wall. Separate from your thoughts. A big reason why we have mental health problems or why we feel shit inside is because a lot of times we don't separate from our thoughts. We think we are our thoughts. And so a quick and easy way to separate you from your thoughts, aside from meditation, is think of your thoughts as graffiti on a wall. because that's literally what they are, right? If you've ever done any form of meditation before, you'll know that thoughts come up like bubbles. They're like suggestions to you. It's like when you're walking through a street, you see a piece of graffiti, you're like, oh, nice graffiti. And then you keep on walking and you forget about the graffiti. That's how thoughts are, and that's how they should be. The second is realize that you are not your emotions. This is also another thing. You are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions. Change I'm ashamed to there is shame being felt. Just a quick thing I wanted to add. I know this camera is looking fucking terrible. There's like some fog on the screen, some weird ass sticker peeling off. So I just wanted to add, because this might be sounding a little bit mystical and hypothetical, right? Whenever you're feeling awkward, or you're feeling hateful, or you're feeling not in the most charismatic, playful, happy mood, I want you to examine your thoughts. This is literally something I just did earlier, so this is why I'm giving you this like perfect example right now. Examine your thoughts from a third person's perspective, because you are not your thoughts. Just examine your thoughts as like, oh shit, this is a weird feeling. This is such like a bitter feeling. I don't know where I got this from. Why did this happen to me? Just examine it from a detached type of way, if you get what I mean. So think of your emotions as a separate thing, and think of your thoughts as a separate thing. Let's say you, the one that's thinking and the one that's watching this video right now, is the conscious, right? You can think, I am happy in your front conscious brain, correct? Think of that as you, and then there's your emotions, and then there's your thoughts. And so examine your thoughts, examine your emotions, and try to make that a habit every time you are thinking negative thoughts, every time you are feeling negative. Now, the third is rewriting reality. Let me just give you 2 quotes real quick. Whatever life throws at you is not your choice. Whatever you make of it is your choice. By Sadhguru, famous yogi. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Marcus Aurelius. Action step: God the illustrator. Literally think of a different reality. So what I mean by rewriting your reality is, let's give you this example. The driver's wife is giving birth. So imagine you're on the motorway. Imagine you're on the highway and there's a driver that's being really reckless, and he's putting everyone in danger, and you driving your car, you start to get mad at him. Correct? You start to get road rage, and you want to roll down your windows and start arguing with this guy, and maybe get out your car, get a fucking baseball bat and knock him in the head. But what if the reckless driver isn't just like some random bloke? What if the reckless driver is a husband driving his wife to hospital to give birth, or saving his wife from like some injury? Then immediately you change anger from road rage to sympathy, wouldn't you? If you rewrite your reality in your mind, if you depict the situation in a different way, that immediately changes how you feel and how you think. And so the way I do this with social situations where you're awkward with your crush or with women or whatever, is think of God, the illustrator. This is my personal way. You can think of the universe if you're like an atheist or whatever, the higher being, there's something there, the energy, the universe. But I think of God, Christianity, God. And I think God puts me in this situation to help me develop as a man. God puts me in these awkward situations with women. God puts me on a table full of the most beautiful girls, and I'm literally breaking down inside for me to learn how to talk to girls, for me to learn how to handle these situations. Imagine if I was never put on a table with beautiful girls. Imagine the man I would develop into. I'd be completely scared of talking to women. I'd be completely scared of sitting next to a woman. And so just framing your situation in a different light can actually help you get rid of all of that shyness, awkwardness, depression, and help you become charismatic in the moment. And also help you become grateful. Grateful that you're on a table full of beautiful girls, instead of worrying, anxiety, and shyness, and hating that you're on a table full of women because it's so uncomfortable. You can literally change it to being grateful. Grateful that God put you in this situation, because otherwise you wouldn't grow as a man. And gratefulness is actually one of the keys. I think that's like a philosophy somewhere. Being grateful makes you charismatic. And so once again, this is all a crazy link, and if this makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I made it confusing. So what are the charismatic habits? Well, let's find out if I can actually make the fucking slides work. Comfortable or your favorite clothing. Now, what this means is, a lot of the time I find when you have like clothes that's really strict on you, clothes that wraps around you really tightly. It kind of creates an uncomfortable feeling, doesn't it? And then that just goes into your charisma. But essentially have extremely comfortable clothing, so like joggers and a jumper or a hoodie, or this is my favorite, which is your favorite clothing, so things you look really good in, so like a suit or just basic things that make you look really good. Bonus points if you can have both. So I wish I had a picture here, me looking fly, but just imagine me looking fly and walking into school every day, for example. Obviously I don't wear a suit to school, but I just wear things that make me feel like a G. Do you understand? Like, let me just, you know what, let me just go off track a little bit. Let's see, what do I normally wear? There is a half zip jumper. It's something like this. This guy, I'm not sure he rocks it as well as I do, but dressed nicely. The style I'm going for is kind of inspired by E-Man a little bit, if you know who E-Man is, E-Man Gadget, but it also is kind of just inspired by me trying on random shit and also kind of like old money. You can choose whatever aesthetic you like. Maybe you're like a streetwear type of guy, completely fine. If you wear streetwear stuff and you got like some brand shit here, maybe you'll meet like a really good partner or a really good friend that has the same interest. Consistently be supplementing your mind with books on social dynamics. This was a habit that I was super into when I was not on school holiday. So right now I'm on school holiday. Sorry for saying it a little bit weird. I figure when I go back to school, or when I was at school, I just kept on reading these social books over and over again. So you know, the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, Storyworthy, Charisma Myth. I just kept on reading those books before I would go to school, and I don't know what it was, but they just gave me a boost in charisma. I think maybe it's because I kept on reading the philosophy of how you need to keep on smiling and how powerful a smile is, or just I kept on reading the success stories of these old people, because you know how in books they give you examples of people doing the advice that they're giving you. Maybe it's just me reading those over and over again, and so I'm constantly in that state. But essentially just keep on giving your mind stuff on social dynamics. Keep on upgrading, keep on learning, even if it's the same book, because oftentimes if you read books like I do, you could read a book straight off the bat, finish the entire book, and then 6 months down the line you can pick up the book again and you're like, what the fuck, I never read about this. That's the beauty of books. The next one is train harder than scenarios you're going to face. This is a super helpful tip, especially if you're going to be confrontational with someone. You know you're going to have a confrontational chat with someone. So this I use specifically when my teacher organized a meeting with me and her to talk about my homework and my prep and shit and my exam results, and I know it's going to be a little bit shit because I don't really pay attention at school. And so knowing that that will be a uncomfortable situation, I went to my boxing class and I trained the shit out of myself, and that just sort of gave me a mental advantage, if you will, to when I'm actually in the conversation, to just think back, bro, nothing will beat this suffering I'm feeling right now in training. Nothing. No talking with a teacher in a nice comfortable classroom will beat this training right now. Now the next one, win more. This is truly powerful. I'd say this is probably the best charismatic habit there is. And win more sounds vague as fuck at first and you probably want to slap me in my face. But essentially whenever you feel that there's resistance or there's an awkward tension between you and someone, so for example if you're walking to school and you always see this girl that walks past you on the same path, she gives you eye contact, you give her eye contact. What if you were just to smile at her the next time she gives you eye contact and you give her eye contact? That's a win, right? But then if she smiles back as well, imagine the attitude that you would go to school with. Imagine the attitude if you smile at her and she smiles back at you, and bonus points if she's pretty, you go to school with. You probably feel like a G, don't you? And then maybe 2 days after that scenario happened, you're in a awkward situation, or you're in a depressive state and you want to be charismatic again. What I would do is recall that situation. I would recall that I am a G, I am actually charismatic, I am actually courageous. For example, if I'm gonna ask out a girl Obviously, I'm going to think back to when I asked out that girl that I told you about early on that kind of looked like Megan Fox. Obviously, I'm going to think back on how courageous I was, and then the reactions from my friends afterwards, after I walked back to my crowd of friends, the dap up and the hugs, let's go, you actually did it. And then I'm going to feel like a G, right? I'm going to feel good, and then I can go conquer a awkward situation. I could be the first one to speak out when everyone's silent and waiting for, I don't know, someone to speak out to break the tension, and most of all, go and ask that girl out, right? So just build a habit of recalling your wins, and this could be something even as simple as meeting an old friend you used to, I don't know, go to the gym with, and then you just dap him up, oh, how are you? And then you have all of this like nostalgic brothership feeling when you just briefly meet that guy, and then you recall it in an awkward situation or in a anxietal situation, if that's a word, and so that just puts you in a different state. And the last and final habit, but definitely not least, is talk to one stranger a day. Easiest way is through a compliment. Bonus points if it's a girl. So every day I gotta make sure I talk to one stranger. I have to compliment that guy. I have to compliment one guy every single day. It's always worked out well, but then eventually I get complacent and stop doing it. But of all of the times I've got back on track and started complimenting like a dude a day, or just talking to a random stranger a day, it's always made me super charismatic. It's just like a flow of charismatic. You know, if I just talk to a guy, maybe tomorrow I'm a little bit more charismatic to the people in my classroom, or maybe I'm walking to my class and I see a guy that has a really cool outfit on. So this actually happened. He had a biker outfit, and he was holding a helmet in his hand. He was looking proper like a G, and so I literally walked by, oh yeah, cool outfit, man. And so what I found with this habit is it's actually a very good way to make friends as well. This habit is probably the singular way I've made a bunch of friends in my gym, because you know how gym bros are, especially gym bros. They take compliments and they're like, holy shit, I've just got a compliment in like a decade, and then they become friends with you. But once again, I will show you how to compliment in a genuine way instead of being like flattery. So now you have everything. Now you have pretty much all you need to go from social weirdo to more charismatic than 99% of people, even adults. And although there is always much more to learn, what I've taught you has single-handedly made me a popular kid in a lot of lessons at school in my new college. I now feel how a popular kid felt, and it's actually a lot easier to become a popular kid than you think. Sure, you can argue that you need a bunch of friends, but if you just apply what I've said so far and be courageous to speak out a little bit more than you normally would, be the most social guy in the classroom, speak to the girls when the other guys won't speak to the girls, that's literally all you need to do. And then you'll gain this certain aura to you. I'm not even joking. It's like a whole different treatment you get from other people, and it's hard for me to describe until you yourself have experienced it, but it's very nice. People see you as this sort of like leader, or the guy that's most sociable and the guy that's easiest to talk to. And from being popular or feeling popular, it's given me a bunch of fun experiences that the old social weirdo, not even saying a single word a day, me would never be able to experience. For example, a girl asking me to show her my muscles, and just generally more signs from women as well. A bunch more stares, a bunch more talking about me to their friends, or just answering my questions in class. And all of these fun experiences actually made me realize that I'm probably not an introvert, and this is like a concept that I've been wrestling with. Am I a shy extrovert, or am I a social introvert? And so all of these fun experiences and all of these more noticeable signs from women actually made me enjoy socializing a lot, and I also get a lot of instant respect from men as well. But I do admit that I do get a little bit of hate, but that might be just jealousy and people trying to poke at me, because I realize whenever I do get hate, or I get people trying to like poke at me, get under my skin, it's never really from above. It's never really from some cool roadman popular kid. It's always from the people that are below me, and it's never from an individual. It's always from a group, meaning they don't have the balls to hate me on their own. And so hopefully these things can come true for you as well, and you can start having fun and actually enjoy socializing, as long as you do the actionable steps. But how about making friends or finding your blood brother? You'll be able to make an insane first impression and get people thinking of you highly with everything I've just taught you. But what if I told you there was just one last thing we gotta cover that will turn all of those good first impressions into long-lasting friendships? Maybe even find your next best friend that is literally like you, same interests, hobbies and ambitions. Because what if I told you the way you win people's hearts over isn't just by showing off your charisma and making people feel like you're the best and the funniest? What if I told you to win hearts, you gotta also focus on making the other person feel good about themselves? This leads me to how to win and keep friends. Almost said how to win friends and influence people there. Find your brother from another mother. So here's what we're going to cover. The secret to making friends and getting people to like you quickly and easily. 95% of people don't do this. How to find your brother from another mother. Same values as you, same thinking, same ambitions. On to the first. Most people are deprived of this. And here's Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud said that the two greatest human urges were the sex urge and the desire to be great. You see, most people crave health, food, sleep, money, materialistic objects and sex. And all of these cravings are usually met through one way or another. All except one. The desire to be great. Or in other words, the feeling of importance, appreciation, to be valued, respected, to matter, to be needed. And it's this same desire to be great that causes runaway wives because of lack of appreciation. For example, nothing is said when good things are done consistently, like cooking meals, washing, drying, cleaning, taking care of the baby. But criticism is immediately bombarded with when one singular bad thing is done. And so there is no praise given when everything is done. But there's criticism when one thing goes wrong. Not to mention, this also causes school shooters because they get treated with such lack of respect to the point that he lashes out and forces compliance / manners / respect out of people with a gun. But why am I telling you this when we're trying to make friends? Well, think about it. If a person's greatest urge to be great or to matter, to be needed, isn't fulfilled most of the time, imagine what you can accomplish by fulfilling that urge for them. That sounds weird, but you get what I mean, right? And what's best is you don't actually even have to do that much. For example, do you remember the last time you got a genuine compliment? Maybe on something that you've been working hard on, and that shit just lights up your day and you can remember it for ages because it's on something you genuinely care about or something that you've worked hard on. And not to mention, making other people feel good also makes you feel good, but that's like, I don't know, primary school advice, so I'm not sure why I put that there. So what do we do then? We focus attention on the other person. Instead of telling people how great you are and all of your accomplishments, to hopefully make them like you and respect you, make them feel like they're the best. Because everyone thinks of only themselves, no matter how great you are, you can only still get people's attention temporarily. For example, when was the last time you thought of Napoleon or the Queen Elizabeth or Alexander the Great? No matter how great they are, when was the last time you thought about them? Because you only care about yourself, don't you? Another example, who is the first person you look for in a group photograph? You. And also another weird example, how is a dog man's best friend? Because a dog focuses on his owner and showers his owner with love. Like when he opens the door, immediately comes angry and jumps on him and licks him or some shit. And that's basically how a dog makes his living. He doesn't even need to hunt anymore. Just by showering his owner with love, he gets food, the best treatment. So how do we do it then? Well, there's 3 short principles that if you can start incorporating all of these in your daily social life, you'll honestly make so many friends that you'll be nodding your head and shaking hands all day, wherever you've made your friends. The first principle being compliments. But it's very important that you do this correctly, otherwise you'll end up ruining a relationship. Avoiding shadow flattery, in other words, a cheap compliment that's whole purpose is for them to like you, so stop thinking about you. You can avoid shallow flattery is simple. Give genuine compliments, and you can give genuine compliments by seeing something you genuinely feel that is impressive. So for example, if someone's squatting heavy weight and it genuinely shocks you that he's doing that massive weight, tell him it's massive weight and well done on your squat, bro. And also keep in mind that the compliment you're giving to the other person is for them to feel good, Don't make it a thing about how, oh, I'm gonna give them a compliment and then they're gonna be friends with me. You have to realize that the whole purpose of a compliment is to give the other person a feeling of good, a feeling of appreciation. This is also a common piece of advice in the dating scene on YouTube, and it's how if you want to go up and cold approach a girl and compliment her, you genuinely don't want to compliment her on her looks, because that's not like a genuine compliment. Sure, you think that she's hot and she's cute and she's got a good physique, for example, but she hasn't done anything of respect. She hasn't done anything of value, really. She's kind of just existed. And so a much better compliment you can offer to a girl is noticing something that you genuinely find is respect worthy. So for example, if you see a girl that goes to the gym like every single day, you see her every day there, then you can say something like, oh, I think you're a hard worker, and then that's a genuine compliment. Well done, I respect it. But a pro tip for beginners here, if you find it hard to talk to strangers, is to start doing this with even your friends. Just with your friends, that's the easiest way. And then the next step up from friends that you already know is gym bros. Gym bros is so fucking easy. Trust me when I say this. Every time I've complimented a gym bro, they've had an enthusiastic response and they've become my friend instantly. Now, the second principle, listening. And here's a Fight Club picture. It'll make sense in a second. Most people make the mistake of just waiting for their turn to speak about their situation. So whenever they're in a conversation, they don't actually listen to you or listen to your takes, your opinions. They just wait until you finish speaking so that they can speak about their story, and so hopefully you go like, wow, that's crazy, wow, no way.
I don't know. When people think you're dying, man, they really, really listen to you instead of just waiting for their turn to speak. Yeah.
But if you genuinely listen to the other person, you'll find that your brain often gives you replies to the other person that makes them feel heard and actually answered. So if you do have a cool story you want to tell, just put that in the back of your mind first and focus on listening to the other person and what he really means in the conversation, and chances are your brain will actually make up some questions that you're genuinely curious to hear the answer for. But then when the conversation inevitably dies down and you're both silent now, you can then bring out the stuff that you stored at the back of your mind and tell your cool story. So the action step here is the next conversation with a friend, or if someone's troubled, just listen to them. Especially when someone's troubled, if they have something going on in their lives. If you just sit there and listen, sit there and be like a therapist. I think that's actually a phrase, listen like a therapist. Oftentimes someone just wants you to listen and not necessarily give them advice or chip in and tell them about your situation. Third principle, saying everyone's favorite word in the world. Such a favorite, even if you combine all the greatest people's names together in one sentence, they wouldn't care about it as much as if they heard their own name. And instantly you might be thinking that this would be awkward to do, but as you start doing it by like the fourth person you've done it with, it will be normal. So what I mean by this is just start saying people's names instead of saying you're right, or like hello, or like you're right man. Say their name with a little bit of a nod. Now on to the second point. How do we find our brothers and repel the people that we aren't compatible with? Well, there's only one way to do it. We have to show fearless polarity, and I'm just going to warn you, it requires a little bit of balls. First, we have to realize what type of friend we actually want. In my case, I wanted a friend that is like me, has the same virtues, morals and thinking, that's on self-improvement, will back me in a fight, is ambitious as me in business and getting money, but is also slightly different than me so that he can offer advice in things that I'm not so involved in. Then we speak out and get a reputation. We speak our truths and refuse to comply with what the classroom or classmates think. Develop your own sense of self and speak what is on your mind whenever you get asked a question or it's a group discussion. So if you're LGBTQ transgender, speak your mind, say you're gay. If you're a red pill incel, say your mind. If you're a devout Christian and traditionalist, speak your mind. Right now, if you're on self-improvement and if you're anything like me, and if you're scared of saying that you, I don't know, wake up at 5 AM, you take cold showers, you think that Andrew Tate's actually not that bad, then go ahead and say it. Because look, all of these LGBTQ motherfuckers, they're proud of it. Isn't that their whole thing? Pride? That they parade it through the streets, that they're gay with their rainbow flags? Why can't you go off and say that you're a traditionalist? Why can't you go off and say that you think the traditional household is best, where there's the mother and the father and then children. And what this does is attract all the people that you want, all the people that agree with you, and repel all of the people that don't agree with you. Now, how I did this was in my old school, I accidentally got a reputation for being an Andrew Tate fan. Like, I didn't even like him that much, but it was just the fact that I was such a quiet kid, no one really knew anything about me, and then I spoke once about Andrew Tate, or I argued once about how Andrew Tate wasn't even that bad, on how Andrew Tate was actually right about his takes. One particular moment was when I argued with a substitute teacher in front of the class about how I didn't think Andrew Tate was even that bad. And what this did was repel all the coloured hair degenerate LGBTQ people from me, but actually made me realize that a lot of people, a lot of roadmen, a lot of the popular kids didn't actually give a fuck. This was also how I met a guy that's also on self-improvement, that's now my closest friend. But I do have to warn you, you will get a little bit of hate from people, but the people you get hate from, you wouldn't have a good and lasting friendship with them anyways. So realize that you're gonna get hate anyway in life, that if you remain in this safe zone, you'll never really get people who love you, just people that are okay with you, people that just say hi and bye. And when you inevitably leave college, or leave wherever you work, or leave the environment, these people will just depart from you anyways, and you'll never see them ever again. And also, it's not as scary as you think it would be. You won't get as much hate as you would think. You'd be surprised the amount of people that agree with your takes, and in my case, the people that disagreed didn't even speak up against me. When I was in that class arguing with the substitute teacher, all of the, let's say, colored hair people, they did not speak up at all. They didn't like whip out their fucking taser and start fucking tasing me or whatever, or their pepper spray in their little like purse. No, it's honestly not as bad as you would think. All they could give me was stares, or wait until they were in a bigger group to judge me safely. But if you're still scared, find places that would likely have your people in it and speak it there. For example, my people would be in fighting gyms, boxing, or the gym. So now you've gotten a whole bunch of wisdom, and if you're seeing this, you've watched all the way to the end. Well fucking done. Well done. This is a long ass video, and bro, I had to, the one that's recording, had to fucking do multiple different takes in multiple different days. And so you're disciplined, and you most likely resonate with a lot of the stuff I have to say, and that's why probably you ended up at the end of this video. So if you want, I'd actually love for you to join my free school community. That's only free for now. That's about charisma, and maybe we can chat about scenarios that are more specific to you on a quick free 15-minute call, or literally just in the DMs. I'd love to hear from you. Because if I can help solve your problems, that means I can help solve a lot of other people's problems too. Then I can hopefully start making some big bucks too, when I eventually do charge, when eventually the server actually gets a lot of people. Right now it's got like 19 people, 18 people. Link in the description if you do want to join. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the community in a bit.